Now, it's time to get your entire financial house in perfect order and keep it that way forever. This is the Victory Wealth and Wisdom Show with your host, James Hait.
All right, welcome to the show, friends. This is James Hait.
And I'm Dustin Danford.
We are from Victory Wealth Services right here in Prescott, Arizona. Our office is located behind Costco and Joe's Furniture at 3741 Caricio Lane, suite number 2. Come by and say hi to us sometime. Of course, you can reach us also at 928-778-1050. That's 928-778-1050. And by all means, check us out online or wherever you consume social media. Just search for Victory Wealth Services. All right, so in 2019, lawmakers passed the Secure Act. That's what we're going to talk about today, because that changed when you have to take your required minimum distributions, or your RMDs, and how your family will inherit certain retirement accounts. It's very, very important that we understand this. Well, they're at it again. A new bill is on its way, and you need to know what's inside because it could impact you. If your retirement is important to you, then you will find it important to stay with us for the entire show, because today we're sharing the Secure Act 2.0, 7 ways your retirement plan could change, and you'll only find it right here on the Victory Wealth and Wisdom Show.
I know, can you imagine, let's go back, playing Monopoly with your family. So right in the middle of the game, has your family changed the rules on you? Yeah, we've all been there, and that's what it feels like right now. These proposed tax law changes and Secure Act 2.0, just when we thought you knew what the new retirement rules are under the original Secure Act, so you could adjust your plan accordingly, well, guess what? Here we go again. The rules are changing again, but we don't want to get caught off guard and unprepared, so stay with us for the entire show as we share the Secure Act 2.0, 7 ways your retirement plan could change.
Without a doubt, Dustin, retirement is full of complicated choices. When to claim Social Security, how to choose the best pension option, how to keep your taxes low, how to leave everything to your loved ones with the least amount of taxes and hassle as possible, and how to make your money last. Do you know if your current retirement plan solves all these problems?
That is smart advice. On today's show, we are sharing Secure Act 2.0, 7 ways your retirement plan could change. So if you're of the belief that you should be in charge of your financial choices, you may not like what's inside this new proposed bill.
Yeah, without a doubt. What we're seeing out there, one of the big ones is your employer could auto-enroll you in a retirement savings plan. Think about that. This legislation would require employers to automatically enroll eligible workers in their 401k or their 403b plans at a savings rate of 3% of their salary. Now, although workers can opt out or opt to save less or even more, up to the annual, contribution limits, enrolled workers' contribution rates would automatically increase each year by 1% until their contribution reaches 10%. Now, here's a quote from the summary from the House Ways and Means Committee about this proposed legislation. They said automatic enrollment in 401k plans, providing for people to participate in the plan unless they take the initiative to opt out, significantly increases participation. Well, one thing to note is that businesses with fewer than 10 employees, businesses which opened fewer than 3 years ago, and retirement plans for churches and government agencies, of course, they're exempt. Now, we agree people should be saving for retirement, but we also believe that you should have the choice of how much and when and whether or not you want to save for retirement. Some people are barely getting by, paying their mortgage and for childcare or whatever the case may be. Now, on top of that, being forced to pay up to 10% per year if they don't opt out. So that's something that could come up and bite people. Of course, we always encourage people to save as much as they can for retirement, something that makes sense. That's why it's great to have a retirement income plan so that you know. Of course, that's one of the things that we do here at Victory Wealth Services.
Well, what if you're not younger? What if you're at the stage in your retirement planning that you're trying to play catch up? You're trying to, take a little bit extra and stash it away. There's something interesting about this new proposed bill that really might be of benefit for you. That is, you can make bigger catch up contributions. Currently workers who are, 50 years old can make catch up contributions to the retirement accounts. So here's the dollar amounts. In 2021, older workers can contribute an extra $6,500 a year into their 401k and 403b plans, after they hit the year's $19,500 limit. And for a simple IRA, that's, $3,000. But check this out. Under the new proposed bill, workers between the ages 62 and 64 would be able to contribute even more to these accounts. For those 401k and 403b plans, these employees would be able to contribute an extra $10,000. That's a definite increase from the $6,500 that we currently see. Participants in that simple IRA can contribute an additional $5,000, up from that $3,000 current limit.
And all of that adds up quite a bit. The thing to realize is that currently these are proposals. We've already had significant changes with the Secure Act, but what we're seeing coming down the pipe, so to speak, is these proposals. Now, what happens if they don't go through? What happens if these laws don't change? Well, regardless of what happens with legislation, the market, the economy, the world, whether Iran gets the bomb or whatever the case is, it is so important that you have a comprehensive written financial strategy, an overarching plan that will last you for the rest of your life, and one that can make course corrections throughout your life to keep you on track so that you can reach your goals for the reasons that are important to you. We see this on a daily basis. This is what we really specialize in here at Victory Wealth Services. So if you do not currently have a plan, or if you have one and you'd like a second pair of eyes on it just to see if you're okay, here's what you can do. Visit us at talktovictory.com. That's talktovictory.com. Get on our calendar. We'll have a 15-minute phone appointment or Zoom call with you and see if there's anything that we can do to really help add value to what you're currently doing. Or if you need to start from scratch, we can help put you on that right path.
The financial and investing world can be so puzzling with so many acronyms and terms that just make it too much to understand. So much so that some people, they just feel stuck. They don't know where to turn. They don't know who to trust. Well, here's the good news. It does not have to be that way. We're here to demystify retirement planning and help you gain the confidence you need to feel comfortable about where you are heading. Case in point, on today's show, we're sharing Secure Act 2.0, 7 ways your retirement plan could change. And now it's time for one of our fan favorite parts, and my personal favorite part of the show, the They Say segment, where we debunk common myths, half-truths, and sometimes just bad advice that they say. So here's one. They say that the best type of retirement money is tax-free savings invested in Roth IRAs. Does every type of IRA offer a Roth provision?
Dustin, almost all IRAs and 401k retirement savings accounts, they do offer that Roth provision to build up a tax-free savings. But notice I said almost all of them. So not all of them, but most of them do. I mean, currently you have simple and SEP IRAs. They're not allowed to accept Roth contributions from employees, but the proposed legislation would change that. Other retirement plans, including, whatever company plan you have, your 401k, 403b, your 457bs, can already accept Roth contributions. Additionally, employees could opt for employer matching contributions to 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans to be made on a Roth basis. Currently, matching contributions must be on a pre-tax basis. Now imagine that if you were getting a match to your contributions going into your future tax-free account, I mean, that could build up over time because as we all know, taxes are going up, up, up with no end in sight. So there's more than one way to contribute to a Roth, and you want to make sure that you do it the right way. So if you'd like, make sure that you talk to wherever your company plan is and ask them specifically on how you can do this. If you need an extra set of eyes on that, give us a call here at Victory Wealth.
You are absolutely right, James. We see so much spending on different programs and so forth that good intentions taking care of people, but the reality is if someone spends money, it needs to be paid back. And that's what we're seeing. But at what point in the future does all of that spending that we see right now with the legislation, is it going to need to be paid back? We know in 2025 and on December 31st, currently, laws are sunsetting where tax brackets will go back up. But what's going to change between now and then? How much more is going to be spent? And what's the trickle-down effect for each one of us in the long term? It's something that we all need to, really take a look at, understand the possibilities, but more than anything, regardless of what happens, have a plan in place that we can trust.
That's true. I'm, just thinking right now what we're seeing trending here in our office and our colleagues' offices across the country. The number one question right now is what to do about taxes in retirement. Because many people may not be aware of this, but taxes when you're retired can go up. You may be thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm not even working anymore. How is that even possible? Well, here's a simple one. What if you're married filing jointly and one of the spouses passes away? Suddenly, your income might go down a little bit because of Social Security or maybe a pension, but nonetheless, you're no longer getting the big deduction that you were before because you're filing as an individual. I mean, that's just one thing to be on the lookout for when it comes to retirement. Taxes are going up. There's no doubt about it. Like you said, Dustin, we have to pay for all of this spending that's going on that help really, trying to rebuild the economy and try to set things straight after the pandemic. So we see this happening more and more. People are concerned about it. But you don't have to be concerned. You don't have to live in that uncertainty. Give us a call here at the office, 928-778-1050. That's 928-778-1050. Get your free victory strategy session right here, and we can help show you how you can create a plan that works for you. Now, when we come back, we're going to continue this topic of the Secure Act 2.0 and how it impacts you. And welcome back to the show. This is James Hait from Victory Wealth Services.
And I'm Dustin Danford.
And this is the Victory Wealth and Wisdom Show. And if you're just joining us, we're talking all about the Biden administration's proposed infrastructure plan, actually been dubbed the American Jobs Act, which sounds great. Jobs are great. But how is this all going to be paid for? I mean, this is a massive plan. We're talking $2.2 trillion. And like we talked about at the beginning of this show, it's going to be funded with taxes. I mean, an avalanche of taxes. So let's talk about those three significant tax hikes that we are most likely going to see that could affect you. First and foremost, it's the most prominent of all these tax hikes that we're going to see, and that's the raise of the corporate tax rate. Now, it's true that under the American Jobs Act, the federal corporate rate will rise from 21% to 28%. But the reality is that's not the complete picture, is it, Dustin?
No, you're exactly right. You're talking 28% federal corporate tax rate. So if you add in the federal state combined rate, now we're talking about, 32.5% almost. So that's astronomical. That's a real jump in that tax number. But that is higher. If you compare that to other countries and, the OECD, the G7, all these trade partners with the United States, even some of their competitors, what do you think? As they raise this rate and goes above and beyond their tax rate, Is this going to have any impact on the economy that we see around us?
Absolutely. Not only that, it's going to really, when you think about it, could really harm the U.S. economic competitiveness and diminish the U.S.'s role in the world. Why is that? Because when tax rates go up here, business leaves the country and finds havens in other countries where the tax rates are lower. So no doubt we're going to see something like that happen. The other interesting thing is that there is proposed legislation right now to have some type of universal tax around the earth to prevent the flight to cheaper tax rates. So we're hearing rumblings of that in the news right now.
But a lot of people are asking me, James, when they talk to us, and I know they've asked you, does it affect me? I don't own a business. I have a job. I have earned income. I have my retirement. I don't own a business. So corporate tax rate, that won't affect me. Is that true?
Well, you'd think that if you don't own a business, but where do you invest all of your money? I mean, you invest your stocks in corporations. You invest your money in businesses. When businesses have to pay more taxes, they raise the prices on the goods, the merchandise that they're selling. So in a roundabout way, yes, every single one of us will be affected by that. Now, you may be sitting there or listening to this program right now and said, well, here's the solution. We need to keep taxes low, cut the taxes, just like Trump did with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And on the surface, from a 30,000-foot level, that can have a positive impact. Because if you think about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, that was intended to encourage hiring, building factories, research, development, pumping that money back into the economy. But that's not what happened. If you look at the history since 2017, 2018, when this came out, instead of investing in the economy and expanding business, these huge corporations, all the ones on the S&P 500 for the most part, they spent their tax savings on buying back their own stock, repurchasing their own stock off the open market, thus pumping the value of whatever outstanding shares there were, enriching the executives and the shareholders. And it was a lot of money.
Yeah, if you look back, like you said, over the history since 2017, they've spent about $5.3 trillion just in buybacks right back into their own business.
Okay, hold on. So let's do some math. $5.3 trillion. If you were to pay that back, I'll get out your calculator here now. So if you pay back
taking my socks and shoes off.
Yeah, that's right. $1 for every second to pay that back. We know $1 trillion would take 32,000 years. So 32,000 times 5.3, what do we have?
169,600
years.
Wow. I ran out of toes counting. That's ridiculous.
I mean, no matter how you look at it, that is an enormous amount of money. So $5.3 trillion worth of buybacks. Analysts say that buybacks have been a driving force in the decade-long bull market that we saw. I mean, sometimes these large corporations even go into debt just to make these massive buybacks possible. So they're making a volatile situation even shakier, because what happens if we have a market correction and now they have all this outstanding debt? I mean, who's going to get hurt? It's going to be the shareholder. It's going to be all those that have this money tied up in their pensions, their 401ks, their IRAs, whatever the case may be. And we get it. I mean, an argument can be made for both, for and against buybacks. But the reality is they're part of the financial landscape right now. They're not going anywhere. So this is just another reason that we see the markets hitting all-time highs while the economy is in a death spiral. So despite what the large corporations are doing, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, really, for the most part, it did have a positive impact on some individuals and in small businesses. I mean, there's a study conducted by the Tax Policy Center, found about 65% of households received a tax cut in 2018, and only about 6% paid more. Of course, the more money you make, the more that's going to have a significant impact for you. But there's something very important that we need to know about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I mean, this is, if you take away anything from today's program, you need to know this. We're going to talk about it when we come back because it is going to have one of the largest impacts for retirees, probably in a generation. So stick around. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the program. This is James Hait, and with me is Mr. Dustin Danford. We are with Victory Wealth Services right here in Prescott, Arizona, with offices all over the valley as well. Before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Now, there's something very important that we all need to be completely aware of when it comes to that tax cut that we all received for the most part. Many people received it. And what is about to happen, or what will happen, Dustin, with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that is so important that we all need to be paying attention to?
Well, we all remember back 2017, the tax levels, those brackets got dropped. So we've all been benefiting from this decrease in taxes. But what's going to happen, like you said, end of 2025, that's all going away. At this point, that is set in stone. That is the law. So unless something changes between now and then, we can count on December 31st, 2025, not enjoying this tax break that we've been enjoying. We've all enjoyed it. So what's the opposite of enjoyment, James?
It's pain. It's not going to be good. And here's why. Because that was one of the biggest tax cuts in American history. I mean, it was up there. It was a doozy. So, of course, the opposite of a tax cut is a tax raise. And when the act terminates, it sunsets, whatever you want to call it, what we're going to see is one of the biggest tax hikes in U.S. history. And now, what is that going to impact? Well, think about that. If you're at or near retirement, this is going to impact you the most. Why is that? Because most likely the bulk of your income, other than Social Security, and if you're fortunate enough to have a pension, your money is most likely tied up in pensions, or excuse me, not pensions, but 401ks, IRAs, TSP, 403B, maybe if you're a teacher or work at the hospital, whatever the case may be. But the fact is that that money is tax deferred. Tax deferred. That's a buzzword. What does that mean? Tax deferred, Dustin.
When we talk tax deferred, we're waiting to pay the taxes. We put it in an account. We're not paying any taxes on any of the gains or any of the funds in there until we pull them out. So we wait to pay the taxes.
Yeah, because they've never been paid, have they? They went in ahead of tax, and then you don't pay the tax till you pull it out. So we kind of think of it like, think of a farmer. Okay, I've got this. Okay, a farmer. Ready? What's the difference? Or let me ask you this, Dustin. Would you rather pay the taxes on the seed or pay the taxes on the harvest? Seed or harvest? What do you think?
Oh, my goodness. Growing up in a farming community, those farmers would be standing around the tractors talking about how much money they were spending, and they always wanted to pay the least. They loved paying on the seed because they knew as it grew, it was worth a lot more. So every time, hands down, they wanted to pay on the seed.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a bag of seed, you pay the taxes on that, you're done. Or do you want to pay taxes on that whole field that is your harvest? So yeah, you're absolutely right. It makes sense to pay the taxes on the seed. Well, our 401ks, our retirement plans, we're paying the taxes on the harvest. So it went in, all that seed went in without paying taxes. And oh my, Uncle Sam comes a-knocking when it's harvest time. And believe it or not, Uncle Sam is our silent partner when it comes to our retirement. Maybe you look at your 401k statement. Maybe you've got your Vanguard or whatever company that you may have, or Voya or whatever, your 401k, your IRA, whatever it is. Look at your statement and you see your balance in there. And your balance, maybe it's $500,000. Man, that makes you feel good. I got $500,000 in my retirement account. Maybe you have $1 million in your retirement account. But the reality is you do not own $1 million in your retirement account. You do not own that $500,000. What do you own? Well, whatever your tax bracket is. So if you are in a high income tax bracket, I mean, 30-40% of that belongs to Uncle Sam. So when you look at your $1 million portfolio, the reality is maybe you have $750,000. Or if you have that $500,000 retirement account, maybe you have $350,000. Why? Because the remainder of it belongs to the government. And do you think the government knows how much you and I have in our retirement accounts? What do you think?
Well, the fun thing is every year where your retirement's accounts are at, they send a report to the government to let them know these are all these tax deferred accounts or what they're waiting to pay on taxes. And it's interesting that the government will actually budget based on what they know they're going to be receiving in taxes from the RMDs or the required minimum distributions, or they can see what's coming down the pipeline because, yes, they know every penny that's in there and what they're going to be getting in return.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I mean, they're using our retirement plans to budget for the country's needs and where all those taxes are coming from. And it is just a plump turkey just sitting there waiting to be plucked. Now, when we come back, we're going to discuss the other two remaining tax hikes that could potentially impact you and what you can do to avoid them. Because believe it or not, you do have more control than you think. But that's the thing. We have to be smart about this. We have to really be purposeful about our tax planning. And we're going to tell you how you can do that when we come back. Stick around. And welcome back to the Victory, Wealth, and Wisdom Show. I am James Hait.
And I am Dustin Danford. Always a pleasure, James, to be here with you in the studio.
Oh, likewise. It's a beautiful day here in Prescott, Arizona, as they say, everyone's hometown. Of course, we have offices all over the valley, and we help people all over the country. So if you have a question, if you'd like to get on our calendar, perhaps you'd like to have your own session with either Dustin or myself, kind of go over your specific situation, you can do that. In fact, you could do that from the comfort of your own home using your mobile device. And the best way to do that, Dustin, is how? How can folks get a hold of us?
Well, the easiest way is just give us a call, 928-778-1050. Again, that's 928-778-1050. And we'd be more than happy to chat with you over the phone and set a few minutes aside to talk about your specific needs.
In fact, we have what we call a 15-minute victory strategy session, a 15-minute victory strategy session. Now, here's how you take advantage of that. You go to talk2victory.com. talk2victory.com, and you'll have access to either Dustin or my calendar, and you can schedule a 15-minute phone appointment, Zoom appointment. We do everything encrypted, make it super easy so that you can see if there's something that we can do to help you with your overall financial picture, including helping you with tax-efficient strategies, because taxes are the mortal enemy of your retirement money.
Before the break, we were talking about the Tax Cut and Jobs Act and really the impact that that has on you when that expires in 2025. That's inspired a lot of conversation in the news, and even the landmark book, The Power of Zero, by best-selling author David McKnight. You know, he views this and he has the slogan, it's the tax train, and the tax train is coming. Even IRA expert, celebrity CPA Ed Slott, talks about the retirement savings time bomb. You know, others have called it the tax storm and so on. There's so many things that some people think, well, maybe it's a little over the top. They're exaggerating, you know, but here at Victory Wealth, we don't think enough can be said about this subject, about taxes and the impact that they can have on each and every one of us.
Boy, you got that right, Dustin. In fact, I'm a little inspired to write my own book, and maybe, who knows, it could possibly be optioned by Hollywood. We can make a big movie about it. I'm not sure, but I kind of have a working title. You want to hear it?
Ooh, I'm intrigued.
Okay, here goes. I call it The Tax Bomb, Tax NATO, Tax Storm Countdown to Tax-Armageddon. So, too much? What do you think?
I don't think so, but maybe.
A little over the top? Okay. Well, it may be over the top, and that may be a little bit melodramatic, but, well, wait, who do you think we can get to play in that movie?
Ooh,
Ooh.
I think people will be standing at the door.
They'll be
lining
standing at
up.
the door. I thinking we need to see if Arnold Schwarzenegger will play in the movie for us. I can just see the movie trailer for it now, can't you? In a world of uncertainty and raising taxes, one man dares defy the IRS. Arnold Schwarzenegger is the Taxinator. What are you doing about the taxes? They're going up too much. You got to lower them down. And your portfolio, it's not diversified. No? Hopefully my wife is not going to hear this episode. But the fact is, now, in all seriousness, December 31st, 2025, we're going to see massive increase in taxes. So if we're not prepared for it, and that's really the point of this whole segment, if we're not prepared for it, it's potentially we could be in a lot of trouble, can't we?
No, absolutely. We have to plan. And what's interesting is the rules of the game are changing.
Yep.
So maybe we've had a plan in place. We have so many people coming in and they say, well, this is what I'm doing. Am I okay? Because they see all this stuff in the news, but they don't know what to do with it with their current plan because they know readjustments need made.
That's right. And so ever since the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act began, we've been helping people because right now taxes are, when you think about it, on sale. Taxes are on sale. What do I mean? So if you have a 401k, an IRA, a 403b, whatever kind of company plan you might have, right now is the time to be moving your money from, as Ed Slott calls it, forever taxed accounts like those IRAs to never taxed accounts. What am I talking about? Well, your 401ks. There's certain types of insurance that you can transfer the funds to. Yes, you've got to pay the taxes. There's no getting around that. You pay the taxes. Let's say you do a Roth conversion or whatever the case may be, because and then you move it into an account that is tax-free. And then from then on out, all the money that comes out of there, tax-free. Your taxes will not go up because you're withdrawing from your retirement accounts because you've already paid the tax. You've essentially kind of rewound the clock, and the tax rates are lower now. So it's best to do it now because after December 31st, 2025, taxes are going up and it could cost you a fortune. Take advantage of this opportunity now. Now, before you run out, just a little disclaimer, before you go and run out and just close all your IRAs and convert them all to Roth IRAs or whatever the case may be, you have to be careful because you have to be smart about this. We want to make sure that you do it in a systematic way, not necessarily ripping the Band-Aid all off at one time, but you have to have a plan. You know, do you do it over the next 2 years? Do you do it over the next 5 years? Whatever the case may be, that's why working with your CPA or working with your financial advisor, or when you work with us, we create a tax plan so that no matter what happens to future rates, you'll be in the best position you could possibly be in. Because our goal, just like the goal of that book, The Power of Zero, that Dustin was mentioning, is to get you to the 0% tax bracket. So we've talked about the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. We've talked about the corporate tax rate. Now there's two major things coming up that we have to pay attention to. Number one is the step up in cost basis rule may be changed. And what's the other one?
You know, another one, it has to do with their beneficiaries. It has to do with estate tax.
Estate taxes. So major changes coming down the pipe. So we have to pay attention to that. On the other side of the break, we'll go over every detail that you need to know so that you can make an informed decision. Stick around. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Victory, Wealth, and Wisdom Show. We're so glad you're here with us today. We've been talking all about the Biden administration's proposal of the $2.2 trillion, that's with a T, trillion-dollar infrastructure plan that's already on top of the trillions of dollars that have been spent both by the current administration and the former for the COVID stimulus packages to help keep the economy afloat. I think we can all agree sooner or later somebody has to pay for that, and it's going to be paid for with taxes. So we've talked about the corporate tax hike. We've talked about the tax hike that's going to happen when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires on December 31st, 2025. But something that's a little bit unclear but is being discussed right now. In fact, you may see it in the news or scrolling through your Facebook or whatever the case is, you'll see a lot of people talking about that, and that is the changes possibly to the stepped-up basis rule and the estate tax. So, Dustin, talk to us a little bit about what is this stepped-up basis?
Yeah, that's one that's really going to affect a lot of people, because when you inherit something, maybe some stock that your parents had or your grandparents had, they look at the cost basis for the taxes that are going to be owed on it. So what does that mean? Let's just say that you bought, Tesla stock. We all hear Tesla in the news and it's skyrocketed. But let's say back in the day, you bought Tesla for $50 a share. Later on, if you personally were to sell it, you bought it for $50, you sell it for $650 a share, how much tax do you pay? Well, the cost basis is that $50 that you bought it for. So the capital gains tax that you'll be paying is just on that $600 of gain that there was. And that's how it works if you were to sell that stock. But the great thing about the stepped up in tax basis is if you were to pass away, that resets for your beneficiaries. They don't have to pay all that tax. They just pay the $650 and above. So they really benefit from that break in paying all those taxes because that basis was bumped up to whatever they inherited it at.
Now, what's happening is they're talking about getting rid of that rule. So if you pass away, guess what? Your kids have to pay capital gains taxes, or your beneficiaries, on the difference from what you paid for the property, whether it's stock or real property, and what it was sold for. I mean, that can just blow up somebody's complete financial plan and their estate plan altogether. So these are things that we're keeping a close eye on. We have our finger on the pulse of everything that's happening so that, before these changes that are so major and can be so significant for you, we want to make sure that we're out ahead of that. We're being proactive. So definitely stay tuned to the show or come in and see us. Schedule an appointment. Go to talktovictory.com and get on our calendar. The next one, Dustin, it was the estate plan, right?
Estate tax. This one can have a huge impact on individuals. These are big numbers that can be changing. So what are those?
For quite some time now, the federal estate tax would only be owing on an estate that, if you were an individual, was worth $11.7 million or more, or as a couple, $23.4 million or more. Well, you may be thinking to yourself, I don't have $11.7 million. I don't even know what $11.7 million looks like. But here's the rub. This is the danger. The talk in Washington right now is about reducing that down to pre-2017 levels, even as low for an individual as $3.5 million. Now think about this. Your home is probably next to your 401k, the biggest asset that many people have, right? And with skyrocketing home rates right now, out of control spending. I mean, right here in the Prescott area, I don't know if you've noticed, but inventory is almost non-existent for a home, to purchase a home. The only new home that you're most likely going to get a hold of is if you build it or have it built, some type of new construction all over, the area, Williamson Valley, the Deepwell Ranch, everything like that. That's where you're going to get your new home. For the most part, Quad Cities, even down into Phoenix, I mean, real estate is tight. And so that's driving prices up with no end in sight. Well, if your house is worth maybe $2 million, whatever the case may be, $1.5 million, $750,000, whatever it is, you are being pushed dangerously close to that new threshold to get that federal estate tax. So if they drop that down to $3.5 million, maybe you have a rental property or a few other things like that, you could be in a world of hurt. Well, let me back up. You won't be in a world of hurt. You won't be here. Our beneficiaries will be in a world of hurt because they have to pay that huge federal estate tax. which is why we have to look at estate planning as part of our overall comprehensive financial plan that we put together for our clients. It includes tax planning, investment planning, estate planning, healthcare planning. We want to make sure that we have a plan so that no matter what happens in the world, the economy, or the markets, or future tax rates, that you're going to be protected. And that's what we specialize in here at Victory Wealth Services.
Well, James, here we are at the end of the show. I can't believe a whole hour has gone by. You know, we put together plans that we meet with people. The rules of the game are changing. So a plan that you have in place now must be adjusted. You need to relook at it.
And you don't have to be Elon Musk to understand these concepts. They're simple, they're proven, and most importantly, they're effective. Again, that's victorytaxclass.com. Get registered today. All right, folks. We will see you next time on the Victory Wealth and Wisdom Show. This is James Hait.
And Dustin Danford.
We'll see you next time.
This show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Victory Wealth Services is a trade name used by Victory Wealth Services, LLC, and Victory Insurance and Financial Services, LLC. Hereinafter Victory. Securities and investment advisory services are offered through Victory Wealth Services, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Annuities and insurance products are provided by various insurance companies and offered through Victory Insurance and Financial Services, LLC, a licensed insurance agency. Product and feature availability may vary by state. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. Victory is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Victory. For more information, please visit www.victorywealth.com.